Hello, everyone. It's Robbie from Miscellaneous Candor, frank, honest, and otherwise outspoken. It's election day. That's right. And we've done a special episode about the elections. Um, this is pretty controversial, at least from my perspective, just because we don't necessarily want to have conversations always about politics, but it's kind of hard not to do it when your podcast drops on a Tuesday, and that's the day that everyone votes in the country where you live. So, hey, we decided to actually lean into it. So sit back, enjoy the conversation, and remember, like, follow, please provide reviews, and thank you for always listening. Here we go. Welcome, everyone. We're back. This is Robbie with Miscellaneous Candor, frank, honest, and otherwise outspoken. Today is election day. Yes, yes, yes. And we are going to talk about all things election. You hear the tone in my voice. Didn't necessarily want to talk about it, but it kind of doesn't make sense with the name of our podcast to ignore it. It would totally be off brand, as people say. Okay, so guess what? We have a guest. But before I introduce our guest, Steven is back.
Hello, everyone. It is I, Stephen Kennedy, your number one board certified atheist at your service.
Steven, did you want to introduce our guest?
Oh, you have the honor.
Oh, me. Okay, well, everyone, we could not have a show about elections and politics without our expert, Greg. Hey, Greg, what's going on?
Well, it's great to be back as a co-host of Miscellaneous Candor.
I love how you throw that in. Oh, also, audience, not only is he a guest co-host today, he is a identified pontificator.
Self-aware pontificator.
Self-identified pontificator. Okay, let's jump in, guys. All right. So, Greg, you were talking about. I know something you want to mention. Something about what you did today.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I went to vote today, which
Okay.
was
In
a
person, or
perfect.
did you mail in? What did you do?
No, in person. I'm an
Okay.
able-bodied adult.
Greg,
Um,
who did you vote for?
Oh my
I
God,
went.
that's personal
Oh,
business,
We're,
Steven.
we're here to have a personal
I will.
conversation.
I mean, he
Robbie.
can ask. Oh, sorry, Robbie. Edit that out. I am like an open book. You know this, Robbie. I I have no bones about sharing who I vote for.
Wonderful.
I am punishing even remotely reasonable Republicans, if that even exists. I will not vote for Republican, even if the Republican is the only person running right now. I abstain from even casting the vote. That's how emphatic I am about this.
Wonderful.
So I went down the ticket and did either independent or Democratic, and you know,
And who'd you vote
then
for
I actually
president?
texted some MAGA loving bastards in my group of friends that I have, because I, try to have a cross political spectrum friendships over here, and
Mhm.
said, "Oh
As
my
do
God, you
I.
guys were right. You guys were right. Holy shit." I walked into the kiosk and suddenly I was red pilled, and I voted Trump and Republican all the way down the ticket, just like Master has told me to do. And um, and I was just kidding, obviously. And two of them actually called me like right afterwards. They're like, "Oh man, you finally saw the light," blah blah. And the point of the story
Oh
is
my
that
God.
I was so obviously joking that the deficit in brain cells that you must have to think that I was serious would only lead you to believe that that's a Trump voter.
So, just for clarity, you voted for president. You voted for.
Harris,
Okay.
yeah. So anyway, that's my story.
Okay, well, I do have to say this, and I know I'm going to get shit from both of you on this, but we do not discriminate against people who listen to this show who have voted for or decide to vote for Donald Trump. We know
No,
what certain people on this show may think, i.e.,
the
Stephen
reason.
Kennedy, but I want to be clear about that because we are open to all listeners. Okay,
Absolutely. The reason why I criticize Republicans and people that vote Republican and that follow Republicans, the reason I do that is because I want to engage people of that thought process so we can have
Yeah,
good discussion and come to, beneficial outcomes for the public at large.
well, I have to be honest with you. I mean, I should say this. I think that that's a good point. I actually was going to go into another point and say that I'm concerned about the outcome of the election, no matter who wins. I'm concerned about violence. I'm concerned about people getting hurt. I'm concerned about further tension and craziness. And I really would like to get to a point where we can live in this country and still disagree, but be okay with each other as human beings. I mean, there's always been some sort of issues just in general, like that
But
are under the surface. Let's be clear. But for the
it sounds
most
like
part,
you want to live in a democracy. You got to go somewhere else for
I
that, right?
do want to live in a democracy. That is true. That's what
Ostrich.
we are.
You're
I
not
mean,
getting in here.
hey, look, I talk to MAGA people all the time. So I mean, you don't have to like.
So,
They should be friendly to this podcast like anybody else, right?
mhm.
Uh, I'm just saying that they tend to be dumb. That's all.
Oh my God. Okay, so I mean,
I
how do
mean,
you okay, so here's my
I,
thing with
I I
that.
agree with you. I challenge, and this is I challenge Republicans to write to us, and I challenge them to share to prove their intelligence.
But do you
so
understand that when you say things like
if
that?
you
Can you guys
actually
hear me?
think
Can you
about it
guys
from
hear
like a
me? I feel like you guys can't
most of
hear
these
me.
people, when you start to actually ask them about
Oh, maybe you
what's
guys
their
can't hear
stance
me.
on public policy, there is a very, very small minority of them that can actually make some type of intellectual argument. Say, for example, like how tariffs, and it's flawed, but how tariffs won't lead to inflation or won't lead to at least some destruction of jobs and like have a negative impact on U.S. manufacturing, right? Because everything you import is
There's
usually a component for what you're going to manufacture. And
Well, that's Mark Cuban's point,
there's a
right?
very few people that can actually even
Wait,
now
can you
have a
guys even hear me?
discussion and debate that with some level of
Oh my
data at the
God.
table on that side. And the majority of them are like my friends here, who I am friends with. I like to have beers with them. I like to go shoot guns with them. Like, I mean, I'll go do that red meat kind of shit with them and have a great time.
mhm.
But like, unfortunately, I just am being honest. Like, if you say to them, one of them, I'll give you a good example, the most basic math. So one of them says to me, "Man, I mean, just come on. You're telling me that it doesn't just kill you to pay this much for gas? I've never paid so much for gas. That's just on any number of metrics false. First of
Can you
all,
guys even hear
gas
me?
in
Hello?
2020,
Hello,
in the beginning of the
hello.
pandemic, when Trump was
I
still
can't
president,
hear.
like that was $5 a gallon in Texas, and then it suddenly dropped, right? And then you know, if you think really more fundamentally back to like 1995, I remember being a senior in high, no wait, 95, yeah, senior in high school and driving around in my Ford Crown Victoria, which by the way was the exact same one that was used in the video Sabotage, the Beastie Boys video. Have you guys ever seen that? Listen,
Oh, of
all
course.
y'all, it's a sabotage. That big blue Crown Victoria.
Yep.
Robbie, Robbie, hello.
Robbie's taking a restroom break. Robbie's taking a little tinkle.
Can you
She's
guys
like, he's
can you
gonna
guys
go
hear me
on and
now?
on.
Can you guys hear me now? No?
Yes.
You
Oh, you're
can't hear
back
me
in the
now.
bathroom.
Okay. We were having some technical difficulties. Um, I yeah. Anyway, I think when you
Okay.
talk about specific issues, like you were saying, Greg, about the tariffs, those are constructive conversations. But my issues when we're just talking about just, I believe in this, you believe in that, you're dumb, you're stupid. I don't like when people call other people
I
dumb just
know.
because
I'm
Well,
they
being very,
disagree with a
tongue in
point of
cheek.
view.
Yeah.
That's
Got
that's
it.
my that's my thing.
Robbie, have
What?
you seen Trump rallies? Have you not to not to not
Absolutely,
to offend anyone, but have you
absolutely.
seen the people that attend those and they're doing interviews with news stations? They sound crazy. They sound cray cray.
I think that there's crazy people on all sides.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. My here's
You
the thing.
like that quote? I
Let me
mean, my point is this. Yeah, there's some crazy people at Trump rallies, 100%. But I
let
also
me
feel like there's some people that are going to vote for him that are not at the rallies,
let me
and
share
maybe not all
something.
those people are crazy.
Now, okay, there are crazy people, and there are also people that are okay with the lies because they want him to be president. They're okay with the concept that for example, believing that tariffs there's a will definitely reduce inflation and bring more income to the table. The tariffs, to start with, it's a huge gamble, which Trump is saying. What he's saying, he's going to gamble with all of American lives. I mean, it's ridiculous, and you can, it's indicative of why all of his businesses have failed, why he's gone into bankruptcy, what, 6 times, something like that. But um, I heard something interesting on the news a couple nights ago, where they were assessing. Well, okay, you've got that group of people that know that that Trump and Vance are spewing and all other Republican leaders are spewing all sorts of lies, and there are the people that believe the lies, but there are also the people that understand that Trump and Vance are lying, but they are okay with it because they want America to be in a certain place in terms of race and who controls what, and they feel that they are kind of being set aside, and they're okay with the lies because even though they know they're lies, they feel that it represents how they feel in America right now. So the lies kind of convey what these people are feeling, even though they're not the truth. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Okay. Can you hear me? I just want to make sure you can hear me.
Yeah.
You would think that I'm an idiot to think that I don't realize that there are Trump supporters who are racist. I'm gonna be very clear and plain on that. I know that. I'm not saying that that doesn't exist. What I'm saying is there are some people who are not that are voting in their interest. And those people who are not, who are voting in their interest or are looking past their interest on the lies, as you define them, right? Whether they believe them or not. Those people too, as I said, in a democracy, if they want to vote for that, they can vote for that. My issue is just saying, well, you're stupid, you're dumb. Because I don't want people to say that about me. I don't want people to say that about you. I don't think that those are fair conversations. To your point about the tariffs, this is what Mark Cuban is talking about when he's out there. He's saying, listen, folks, if there's tariffs and you want to buy a bunch of gifts for your friends and your family and Christmas this year, guess what? Next year, that's going to be 60, 30, 40, 50% higher with tariffs. And to that point, if you shop at local businesses who get their goods from China and due to the tariffs, those are going to be marked up. And some of those businesses might go out of business. So he's talking about it in a way
Yeah.
very clear and very succinct and really hits home in terms of understanding how it can affect people. That's fine. I feel like that's a constructive conversation. I just don't feel like you get anywhere by calling people names. Yes, that's what people are doing on both sides now. everybody's calling people Trump is an ass, Kamala's stupid.
Listen,
Like
Look,
because it's a disappointment, right? That's what's
I
happening.
I
I
mean,
just, I personally, me, I'm tired of that. It's exhausting. It is debilitating. And who wants to hear that every single day?
I
Not a
agree
normal person.
completely. I do. And I mean, I think the only reason I was going there on this is because I almost think of this conversation as like the three of us on the phone venting a little bit, right? I mean, when I'm actually talking to these people, which by the way, again, I think I'm one of the only ones who actually does talk to these people on a regular basis. I keep it very, very low key. I'm very careful with my tone of voice. I I ask them about their positions on policy, and when I do think that they're just completely incapable of quantifying anything or using anything close to objectively logic, I don't tell them that. I just say, okay, I guess we'll just disagree on that point then, because I see there's no swaying you. Like I try to. My point is, I try very hard to keep a respectful dialogue, to keep the tone down and the emotion down.
That's
So
all.
therefore, I'm channeling it on this podcast.
I I have
That's all
several friends.
I'm saying, though. That's all I'm saying.
I
Go
have
ahead.
several friends that are voting for Trump, or and are Trump fans, or are MAGA big MAGA folks, and it's disappointing. And I convey my disappoint that how disappointed I am, and I talk down to them. But that's I
Steven!
definitely I belittle them. But what I've come to what I've come to learn over the last few years now is that I'm not changing any of their minds. They're not going. They have no logic to back up their defense and their support for Trump. But in their arguments, they provide completely illogical statements to prove their point, their point of view. It literally and these are all intelligent people, but there's some kind of disconnect. They go stupid when we talk about Trump, when they're thinking about Trump. It doesn't make any sense to me. Now, and these are people that are of all nationalities, races, religions. So it's not just one. It's not just white people. It's across everyone, and they all share the same level of foolishness, the same level of stupidity.
Steven,
Yes, ma'am.
thanks for being frank and honest. Okay, so we are we talked about that a little bit. Let's talk about, so who do you all think is going to win? Does anybody have any forecast from their perspective?
Nah, I'm not even thinking of, you know.
I think Kamala's gonna win.
You really do. Like
I do.
even in now you okay, without saying, you live in a battleground state. We're not going to say which one.
Hmm.
But you think that she's going to win your state
I
even
do.
with some of the issues that have happened, across, just like, I don't know, like Palestinian thing, the
I do.
economy
I
piece,
do.
the
I do because the same issues that the Kamala is having with the Palestinian, Trump is having the same issues. All there's a lot of similar issues that are shared across both the Democrats and the Republicans. So let's cancel those out and we look at the determining factors, and on that, I believe Kamala will win. Also, I think that helps is Linda Carter was in the area canvassing, and if I had known that she was in town, I don't care if she's 73 years old, I would be canvassing. I would be canvassing. When I say it's quote canvassing, I would be canvassing with Linda Carter all day long. You know what I mean?
because you have a crush on Wonder Woman. Oh my goodness.
Steven, you wild
What do
boy,
you mean? We're talking about Wonder Woman here.
you.
If audience, if you hear things in the background, that's just my dog's paws. He's walking around. So how about you, Greg? What do you think? Who do you think's going to win?
On what number of? topics.
Who do you think's going to win? Do you have any
Oh,
forecast?
I'm not expending any. I'm really trying to change how I expend my energy
Okay.
and mentally and physically. But I can't burn up brain cells even guessing. I don't even look at any polls anymore. I just,
Hmm.
you know, I I read policy stuff a bit, and I do think a little bit about, and I try not to even think about this market implications, what might happen with the business environment in either scenario. But honestly, that's not even really that productive either, because you just don't know what's going to happen. One thing I do think
Hmm.
is I suspect we won't have a firm grasp on this and any certainty where we can just go, okay, like we're in the clear. There's a president. There's going to be a peaceful transition of power. Nobody's going to go freaking bananas. Like really until inauguration day is over.
You think it's going to take that long? Okay, so I'm with you. I don't think that we're really going to know for at least, I was going to say 30 days. And
Yeah,
I'm being,
yeah.
probably that's like, some people would say that that's pushing it, but I think it's 30 days. Um but you think it's going to go all the way to January 20th, to inauguration day?
I mean, they have to certify the vote obviously before that, but I could see where the drama of continuing lawsuits and who knows what the hardcore MAGA people might do. I mean, I mean, I really ask these people like, where I'm trying to get inside their head, like, what are they really thinking? And it
Mhm.
may be all bravado, but I've had some of them say, Harris wins, the guns come out. Like, I'm not joking.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
are the words that have come out of their mouths, like in Texas to me. I'm like, whoa, really? Okay, that's
But okay,
interesting. I'll make sure to keep my guns close by too, I suppose.
here's my thing. Okay, you've already like let people know that you live in Texas. But
Yeah.
Texas is going to go to Trump. Like that, I mean, there's no
Well,
debating
they
Texas. So
sure.
even if he won Texas, why would the guns come out? Like what are they going to do? What are they saying to you?
I don't know. That's all they say. I'm just like, okay, what are you gonna do, right? I mean, like, I think it's gonna be one of those situations where there's tension. Maybe there's some, armed protesting, right? That the police have to sort of show down. But I mean, I know a lot of the cops and military guys I know are all MAGA people too.
Mhm.
Not all of them, but quite a few of them. The majority. Um, So I'm not saying that I don't think there's gonna be some coup or takeover. I just have to think there's not gonna be. Otherwise, I'll just fucking have perpetual anxiety for the next month. Uh, but I mean, it seems naive to think that they're not gonna. I mean, the Trump campaign, the MAGA people are gonna fight tooth and nail. If it's not, if they didn't win, they will lose their shit like a bunch of spoiled brats. Like it's and I am calling names because that's the behavior. It's that of spoiled brats. I mean, you just look up the definition, spoiled brat. That's how they behave. And like because they tell me they're like, oh, if Trump doesn't win, it's rigged. I'm like, wait, so only if he
Right,
doesn't win, like
right,
the
right,
rigging wouldn't go like the other way. Like I don't
right.
like
And,
really.
and and how is it? Why would anyone think that it's simply not possible for anyone else to win but Trump? It doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense. Again,
it doesn't make
and
any
these are the illogical conversations we have with. This is why myself and Greg think Republicans that are voting for Trump, that MAGA folks are stupid. That's exactly why.
Okay, so
yeah.
just for point of clarity here, spoiled brat meaning Cambridge English Dictionary, a child who behaves badly because they are allowed to do or have anything they want. You're behaving like a spoiled brat. He tends to act like a spoiled brat when he doesn't get his own way.
Hmm.
There you go.
Yeah. So I just thought I would
Yeah.
communicate that since you said look up the definition. Um,
Robbie,
I
you're voting for.
what?
Who are you voting for? Have you voted?
I don't ever tell that. I
Well,
keep that.
I think this is a forum for you to share, or your personal
No,
thoughts.
it's
That's what
not.
I'm here.
a
We're here
forum
for
for me to
we're here to talk about
stand
our personal inner
on.
thoughts and have deep conversation.
This is a forum for me to stand on what I said I wanted, which is a democracy. And in a democracy, my vote is what I decide it is. And I do not have to share it with anyone. And that is my right.
So you don't want to tell us who you're voting for?
I will not. No.
Greg voted for Kamala. I'm voting for Kamala. Come on, Robbie. You can tell us. Don't feel uncomfortable here. This is why we're here, to talk about our innermost thoughts, all
I
the
know.
secrets we
And I
have,
think that I
all
have
the
just
secrets.
communicated my innermost thoughts to you. I will not share that.
So that's Kamala.
No, I did not say
Oh,
that.
it's not. You're voting for Trump.
I did not
That
say that.
wouldn't surprise me. Would that surprise you, Greg?
You know, maybe there might be a complex
You
theory of the
think?
case here
You think that's why she's getting upset with
Robbie.
us for saying MAGA folks are stupid?
I
You think
think
that's
so. I think she might be a secret
interesting?
MAGA agent.
Interesting.
A MAGA agent. What even is that?
Well, it's
Um,
just someone who's fully indoctrinated into the cult of MAGA, but pretends that they're not, and they're more progressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they are. I mean, they just kind of run around and seed doubts and try to convince people to talk nice about MAGA people.
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, I know this is
This
a
reminds me, those
huh?
commercials that are going around, don't tell your husband you can vote in secrecy. Don't tell him you're voting here. Don't tell your wife.
Yeah.
you know, like that's what we're dealing with over here. But
Maybe that is
truly,
what
Robbie,
we're dealing
come
with.
on, you can
Maybe
show
that
me.
is what we're dealing with. And
This is
no, I'm not going to. I'm not going to. And I think that that's good
why the
that I'm not
secrecy? I don't
going to.
understand. Why
I
why are
think
you
it's good that
are
I'm
you embarrassed by your vote?
no, no.
You
I
shouldn't be
come
embarrassed.
from a long, long lineage of people who have not had the right to vote. And when they have had it, it is imperative that they do keep it to themselves, given that that is the law of the land. And I'm going to stand on that because that
You
is my.
just gave away that you're Irish. I mean, so
Well, yes, I am part. That's true. That's true.
But
You've
how
seen
can
my freckles.
right? How can you possibly share your perspective if you're not going to tell us and our listeners what way you're voting?
I think that it's really I what I want to say is I appreciate your persuasiveness and your questions and the fact that you continue to try to get me to give the answer that you would like.
But I'm still
I'm
I'm
going
still trying to
to tell
understand
you
why
I'm
you
not
won't share
going
with
to do
us.
that.
Why don't you share it? Why not? What do
I
you have
just
to
told
lose?
you why not.
No, it's your sure it's your right to keep it to yourself, but why? What's your reasoning for keeping it to yourself?
it's a principality.
Exactly. And so that's not a reason. Like what's your reason, Robbie?
I told you. You just didn't hear me.
Okay.
So when we do actually release this, you can go back and listen to the reason that I just stated to you.
I didn't hear a reason
I
for
did.
you.
I have to disagree. I actually heard. I respect principles like that.
But what's the principle for? What is it for?
Greg, since you heard it and you respect it, why don't you help him understand?
Yes,
Well,
please.
I mean, my guess. I mean, there's a different way of looking at the rationale, I guess, behind it, which is if you just have a legacy of never telling your political stance on things, then no matter what the environment turns into, you're always sort of mitigating risk to your own reputation, career, relationships, and everything if you just keep it
Ah,
private.
okay. So she's scared. Okay. Uh,
She's no, she's not scared. No, no, I don't think she is. I think she's calculated.
are one of you in the bathroom? I hear a little tinkle sound.
Oh no, that's me. I actually have to wash broccoli. I'm gonna do roasted broccoli.
Of course. Of course.
Art, Greg. If we had a podcast where Greg was on it, there wasn't something happening in the background, it would not be real.
Hey,
It
you
would
know what?
not
I'm a busy
be
guy.
real.
I'm a busy guy. As a co, I'm not just a co-host and pontificator. I'm a dad. I'm a cook for this place. I cook for these people. So I can't. I can't do. I have to keep moving.
You're
I
a
gotta keep moving.
multi-dog wrangler. Let's be clear on
Yeah.
that too. You're a multi-dog wrangler.
Yep.
Um,
I'm a.
yes. So, okay, if you
So
say I'm calculating, then I'll take that, but that's not how I see myself. But if you want to say that, you can say that. But I will say I'm not going to divulge that. I am not scared, but it's none of your business.
Well, hold on a second.
ah,
None of your
Hold,
business.
so you
hold
don't
on a
need
second.
to tell us why. Okay.
Wait a minute. Wait. If you're not scared and you're not being calculated with it, then it kind of almost does. The reasoning does start to fall apart because those would be two
Exactly.
pretty valid reasons to have the principle and stand by the principle.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
Okay.
So,
So
Robbie, what's
we
the
are
reasoning behind your
at,
principle?
we're almost at time.
Oh, she wants to cut it now.
Here, I'll help you. I'll help you, Robbie. Can I share a public service announcement and a fun fact about roasted broccoli, just broccoli in general? We'll do a culinary segment.
Would be a what?
It's a little detour to a culinary segment. Actually,
Okay.
it's more like a gastrointestinal. It's a gastro thing. So
We
if
could we
you
could talk about
wait,
RFK with that too. So go on.
yeah. So if you apparently, and I've done, I've experimented with this. If you don't cut the stalks of the broccoli to get your bunches that you're actually going to cook with, whether you roast them, steam, whatever, saute, as long as you don't cut outside of a half hour, right? So no more than a half hour between when you cut and cook, you'll actually
Mhm.
cut back on the farts that the broccoli gives you.
Really?
Interesting.
So this is
Yeah,
fresh broccoli. So what about frozen broccoli?
I don't know. Probably I don't eat frozen broccoli. Why would I even know that?
Steven, what's your take on broccoli? Do you eat frozen broccoli? I eat frozen
I'm
broccoli.
not a broccoli fan. No, I don't do
Oh, you're
broccoli.
not a broccoli fan. You don't do broccoli.
No.
That's interesting. So Trump says if he wins, he's going to let RFK, and I quote, run wild with department and everything regarding food.
Hmm.
How do you feel about that? No
I,
vaccines.
I'm curious. What's going to be how is he going to take over? What's going to be his role? And if he achieves whatever role that's going to give him the power to do that, that's insanity. The guy is a nut job.
Wait,
He
wait,
said
wait.
he would
So,
take
so,
over
but,
all of
but
the health
isn't
organizations, including what is it, the NIH, the CDC. He would take over the FDA. Yeah.
but isn't he the big like? He's actually one of the few things that he does say that I'm like, oh, okay, he's kind of got a reasonable point there. Is I believe he's a big critic of the food industrial complex, which
He
is
is.
quite honestly a thing.
Yeah.
So I think it would be interesting to see him butt up against like that. Those interests are going to be just like anything he tries to do with that, where it's you know, some who knows, like some way of incentivizing people to eat organic and
Hmm.
lower sugar intake and lower alcohol intake and all that stuff that we probably all should be doing. The lobbying force behind the parts of the economy that rely on that stuff are going to be just overwhelming.
Exactly. How is that going to look? The same thing with him versus Big Pharma. Right?
You,
I
How
sir, I
is
can't go
that
as far
going to
as sounds
look?
even. It sounds like Greg is in a bubble bath right now. I just can't.
it does sound like that, right? I
It
know. I
sounds like
gotta.
he's got his rubber ducky and he's.
You got totally, you couldn't even have a conversation, huh? You're just totally.
Sorry.
Me,
You know
I'm
what it
just
is?
like, oh, there's just noise in the background because it's Greg. Let's keep talking.
I need a new
You are totally
incinerator,
distracted, Stephen.
like the food processing units. I gotta replace that in this house, and it's still working, right? And I'm like, I keep fixing it, and I don't want to spend $150 on a new food processor because I won't eat frozen broccoli.
Okay, so audience, I just want to say something. while we've been talking about the election, you can see that we were talking about broccoli, frozen broccoli, food processor. Is Greg in the bubble bath with his rubber ducky? That's so
or with cauliflower,
funny.
or sorry, broccoli. Is he washing? You've seen Kramer bathes with while he's washing vegetables.
Oh
Maybe
yeah, yeah.
maybe not that there's anything wrong with that. But.
My point is bringing that all up is that we can have these discussions, we can disagree, but we can still have fun and still speak to each other like human beings. And I would love for us to continue to try to have that as part of how we interact on a day-to-day basis with other people in our respective spaces, whether that's where we live, work, etc. So I just wanted to bring up that point. I thought it was a good moment for us here on the podcast. And before we do end, Greg, Stephen, just regarding the election, any last words? Greg, you can go first.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, right.
Okay,
Sorry.
Greg, you
The
have the
Friday
floor.
the Friday afternoon gummies starting to kick in. Um,
Now it's starting to make sense. Yeah.
um, no, I have no parting words. I mean, I just want to remind everybody, broccoli, don't cut it outside of 30 minutes from when you're to cook it, and try to think about the impact to your life from who you vote for, and not just be aggrieved at the other side. Um, and that Robbie really might be an agent of the MAGA cult. That's kind of it.
Stephen, I'll give you the last word.
I am concerned, as you are, Greg, that Robbie has turned MAGA on us. Uh, what I will say is, look, if we don't vote for Kamala, this country is going to go to hell.
Thank you, Stephen. I will say this, and I will go on record and say this. I am a certified, registered independent in my state of residence. I am
Oh,
not MAGA
you're
for
not.
the record. I
But
am
are
not.
you voting MAGA?
Thank you, everyone, again. I'm not going to tell you what my vote is going to. I'm just not going to share my vote.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, again for listening to us, particularly on this day that I'm sure a lot of people have some anxiety and maybe some other people aren't even paying any attention to. But once again, we had a great time and we really appreciate you listening to us. Follow, subscribe, and please provide some feedback and reviews. Thank you.
Let us know if you think that Greg and I are stupid for voting Democrat. Then let us know. We want to hear your point of view.
Yes, leave that in the reviews too. All right, everyone. Have a great week.
Bye bye.